Welcome back to Small Caps. My name's Kerry Stevenson. Today, I'm introducing to you an upcoming IPO by the name of Lukin Resources. The ASX code will be LKN, listing on the boards about mid to late November. Joining me today is the Managing Director, Jaco Malan. Jaco, I should say, South African, Jaco. Good to see you. And first up, we haven't spoken before. Tell our investor audience, who's Lukin Resources? Just a brief overview of what the projects are and why they should be starting to look at you guys.
Yeah, well, Kerry, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity. Nice meeting you as well. Lukin Resources have got 5 projects. 2 of them, Ebagoola South and Stratman, are located in northern Queensland. And then we've got 3 projects in South Africa. Ebagoola South is our priority project. We're very excited about that project. We see a lot of opportunity and potential for tier 1 discoveries of gold. And I'm sure we'll expand on that later on. And in terms of South Africa, the 3 projects include 2 of them with existing Jaco resources, which we picked up at very good valuations and very good value for our investors.
I guess that's because no one's, other people are looking elsewhere. You said actually the value's in South Africa.
Well, yes, we do think there's value there. If you look at where the markets are currently, for the same type of deposits in Australia, I'll probably pay multiples in terms of how much I would have to invest to get a share in those projects. That's not the case in South Africa. And that's not because of the quality of the assets. It's just because of perceptions about South Africa.
What's getting you? Well, first of all, how did you get Ebagoola South, and what's the excitement around that? Because you're a geologist by background, and you've had some success in the past. What's Ebagoola South showing you?
Well, as I mentioned, Ibugulus South is an intrusive-related gold story. My passion as an explorer is obviously to find tier 1 deposits. I think that is any geologist that is in this game's dream. And I see a lot of that opportunity there. It is an area that's got very similar geology and, setting an age to areas further south. We have Kidston and Mount Leyshon. Those are multi-million ounce deposits. And we are hoping to make the next big discovery, similar discovery at Ebagoola South. What excited us when we looked at Ebagoola South originally was that there's 16 historic intrusive-related gold targets, which is already a lot. But the real opportunity there is that most of them were historically poorly explored. And looking at the geochemical signatures at surface over these targets, it's quite clear that we are at the top of these intrusive-related gold systems. So it means that if there is economic mineralization, it hasn't been eroded, but it will be at depth. And we just simply need to do deeper, drill deeper, obviously targeting, a next big intrusive-related gold deposit.
How did you come across this particular project? Did somebody else have it before, Jaco? I mean, and yeah, there's some intrusive related goals, but from an investor point of view, what are you seeing that you think is where's the value going to be coming from Ebagoola South? Because that's your focus in Australia, isn't it?
Yeah, it's focused in Australia. We got this project. We became aware of it through one of our associates here, and we had a look at it. Ebagoola South has got a history of gold production, so there's a number of mesothermal deposits there. That's usually gold that sits in quartz veins. It was mined historically, targeting high-grade ore shoots. So that was the first thing that piqued our interest. So we saw, okay, there is gold in the system. It is high grade. And following from that, going into doing a little bit more desktop due diligence, we realized that in addition to that, there is a great opportunity for intrusive-related gold. If you're really targeting massive deposits, I'm not discounting the mesothermals. We remain excited about those. They may be slightly smaller plays, but if you're really targeting big deposits, you have to look at the intrusive-related gold type of opportunity.
So you're seeing this as quite a large, potentially It's early days. What I want to know is how much work have you done and what's it showing you? Just unpack that a little bit for us.
Yeah, listen, this is an early stage project. We are not that advanced. We are, at the moment, we have started with some geochemical sampling, and we have teams in the ground busy with that process. And going forward, what we've done is we've pulled in one of the experts in intrusive related gold in Queensland.
Yep.
That is assisting us. I hope you forgive me for giving his name, but he's a well-known geologist called Greg Morrison. So he's assisting us in prioritizing those targets. And once we've done the geochemical sampling, he will do the multi-element geochemical vectoring, which is a process that helps us to zoom in to where we would expect the cause of these systems to be, that we can then target mineralization at depth through drilling. I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely does. And that's the focus in Australia for Lukin, yes? You've got another project, but you said to me off camera that really the excitement is the Ebagoola South, because you believe, and you've got a background in successful company makers, I guess. So you're looking at that and thinking that there's a lot of potential in that particular project, then that's going to be the focus once you're on the boards of the ASX.
Yeah, that's correct, yes.
Okay. Now, let's go across to South Africa, which to some Australians, they say, oh, South Africa, but let's unpack it. What have you got there and where's your focus?
Well, we've got 3 projects there, as I mentioned. They are all base metal projects located in the Northern Cape. I don't know if you're familiar with South Africa, but South Africa, that part of South Africa is like the Australian outback, semi-desert, not a lot of people around. What excited us about these projects that we picked up is that 2 of them have existing JORC resources. It's projects that has seen significant exploration in the past. And I think that's where we see, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit later about our activities with previous ventures, but we see great opportunity in South Africa in that there are some very good high-value opportunities that you can pick up easily. And that's what we've done with these assets. We applied for these through simple application processes. We didn't acquire it at all. And those type of opportunities is opportunities that we as the team at Lukin really like. We've done that with Universal Coal, which was one of our previous ventures, also based in South Africa, all South African projects. We took it from a pure explorer, very similar to Lukin, to a fully fledged producer. We built 4 mines in South Africa.
Wow. So that was so Universal Coal, you took from exploration, you had some projects.
Yep.
And over what period of time, and what was the value return to shareholders? Because I've often said to people, you got to look at management and you've got to look at track record. So I think this is quite an interesting area. So talk to me about Universal Coal and what you did with that.
Yeah, listen, we listed Universal Coal in 2010. As I said, I think we had 5 projects, all early stage, with some limited JORC resources. We built 4 mines over 10 years. We ended up, when we sold the company, I think Universal Coal produced nearly 10 million tons per annum of coal, which were all capacity that we established. And we sold the company for a return. I think we sold the company around about $475 million, which was about 3 times return for our cornerstone investors. Importantly, we also paid dividends. We paid a healthy dividend. We averaged about 10% per annum dividend for 3 years. So our shareholders did very well through that venture.
So you want to do it again. This time it's not coal. You're talking base metals. So in South Africa, which clearly, ladies and gentlemen, there's a bit of a giveaway there. He's got that accent, so he clearly knows South Africa pretty well. Why South Africa? Tell me more.
Well, obviously, having operated there, being successful there, it's natural to always go back to things that you know and will work.
Yep.
Also, half of our team is based in South Africa. So we've got a fully operational team on the ground that knows how South Africa works, that has built mines in South Africa. And we see an opportunity to replicate that. Yes, in a different commodity, more base metals, but the team internally has got that experience in base metals through past, involvement with mostly major companies. So we see the opportunity to replicate that just in different commodities and making very good, attractive returns for our investors in doing that.
Okay, so where's the value, which you said 3 projects, are you putting equal focus on all 3, or is one jumping out as the value proposition in this group?
No, of all our projects, we've got 2 priority projects, Ebagoola South, that we already discussed. The other project is Vaalkop, and that's where most of our attention will be in South Africa. It is an advanced project, as I said. It has a current JORC resource of 24 million tons, containing over 440,000 ounces of gold and I think over 420,000 tons of zinc and copper. And what we really like about Volkov is not just the fact that it's advanced, is we see a lot of opportunity at Volkov to increase that resource base significantly. And then in addition to that, the deposit historically was never analyzed for molybdenum. We do know from recent research, academic research done on that deposit, that the sulfide zones have elevated moly, and we're quite excited about that. I don't know how much you know about moly, but it's usually used in steel making, but it's finding more and more application in solar and wind power generation.
Of course, yep.
Prices has always been around about $15,000 to $20,000 a ton, but in the last 4 or 5 months, it's doubled. I think it's currently $46,000 a ton.
Goodness me.
So we look at that and say, well, you don't need a lot of moly in your deposit to make a massive positive impact on your economics. So we see those type of opportunities, the fact that we can increase that resource base, the fact that there's an opportunity for critical minerals to be present as key to that deposit. And in many ways, this reminds me a lot of some of our coal benches, where a lot of companies, big companies, walked away from those opportunities. But a team like us, we've got the capability looking at those, and we call it sweating the asset. And by sweating the asset, you actually make very profitable or create very profitable opportunities going forward. And we see exactly that with Volkov.
How did you get your hands on Volkov? Because you say it's got a JORC resource of 440,000 ounces of gold. Is that near surface? What's the sort of grade? And how did you get your hands on it? Did somebody just throw up their hands and go, can't do any more with this? Or come on, Jaco, you've got to share with me a little bit of a secret here.
Listen, because there's a lot of negativity, unfortunately, in certain parts of the world on South Africa, there's not a lot of people chasing opportunities there. And people might be surprised, but we acquired that asset purely through applying for a prospecting right. Being in South Africa, working there, we always look for opportunities. And about 5-6 years ago, there were not a lot of people really interested in exploration globally, but also specifically in South Africa. And a lot of those opportunities have become available where people just walk away, not interested, being negative. And that's where we see great opportunities. And that's really how we acquire it. Vaalkop is a deposit that outcrops. So there's an opportunity for both open pit and underground. The grades there's a high grade component to that deposit that's currently over 6% zinc equivalent grade. But on average, it's about 3% plus zinc equivalent, or just over 2% copper equivalent grade. And that excludes any upside. That moly would bring to that deposit.
As a geologist by background, I sense a little bit of excitement about the moly component. So Why did you decide to look at that? I mean, and where do you see that that's going to be a good value add for shareholders coming on board?
Listen, it's just things that you pick up when you do a due diligence on a project. Obviously, reading through a lot of historic reports, reading through a lot of academic research done more recently on those deposits. All deposit models evolve, and people, over time, people pick up certain changes and models change, and looking at those type of things and doing, reading that type of research, we realized, hey, there's a great opportunity here to also look at moly in this deposit, which, as I said, can be a major game changer.
All right. So, Jaco, before I get into my final, and everyone knows that I do this, like the 3 reasons why people need to have a look at what you're doing. Lukin Resources, as I said at the beginning, ladies and gentlemen, ASX code will be LKN, listing mid to late November. Jaco, do you look at this as you've done it with Universal Coal? This is pretty exciting for you. What are you hoping to do? Raise how much? List on the boards? The focus will be like when you raise the money, are you going to put half to South Africa and half to Australia? Talk to us about that a little bit.
Well, as you mentioned, we're planning on listing mid to late November. We're raising anywhere between a minimum of $5.5 million and $7.5 million. Our priority will be Ebagoola. Probably of the money raised, at least 55 to 60% of our expenditure will be towards Ebagoola, with the balance going to Vaalkop.
Okay. All right. Now, there's a lot of companies out there. Where do you think if people are looking at Lukin and saying, all right, he's done it before with Universal Coal and he's pretty passionate about what he's doing, what are the 3 reasons that investors should be looking at what you're doing at Lukin right now?
Well, I think you've mentioned, Universal Coal, and on the back of that, we've got a very good team. We've done it before. We've got a proven track record with excellent directors, and we think that will really, really distinguish us from many explorers out there. We also, because we're not just an early stage explorer. We've got some advanced projects that we aim to take up that value curve to get to development. Development, something that we've done before, and we intend doing that again in this. And then, South Africa, we see a lot of value in South Africa. Why? Because it's been discounted so much. Anyone that's in this game, the first thing we look at is there value that we can pick up cheaply? Is there something with value that we can pick up cheaply, that we can advance through not spending too much money? And we see that in South Africa. South Africa remains one of the largest metal producers in the world. I think people tend to forget that. It has a large mining industry. It's got a large mining services industry, lots of mining skills. Importantly, that I can get much cheaper prices than I can get in Australia. So I get a lot of bang for my buck there, when it comes to exploration. So there is positives there. And in addition to that, the new government is very pro-investment. They're busy with developing an exploration strategy, which we are very excited about. We think it is going to make it much more attractive for juniors like us to operate there.
I love your passion for the South African story, and clearly, ladies and gentlemen, he knows the area. There's that accent again. Final question to you, because I want to know this. Have you got skin in the game? You're going to put your money where your mouth is? Yeah,
definitely. The directors are contributing significantly of their own cash to the capital raise, and also having had some success in the past. We've got a number of institutional investors that has backed us in the past that's also following us on this venture.
Ah, that's interesting. So some institutional money following you, saying he's done it before, let's go again. I love your passion and I love the story. It's a really interesting one, Jaco. And you know what? I'm a gold nerd, so I love the Ebagoola South one up in Queensland. And as you rightly pointed out, you understand the South African market and you understand the value in the South African market. So that's Vaalkop. And as you said just a moment ago, it's not just exploration. This is a development story. So ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. If people would like to find out more, Jaco, where can they go and download the prospectus?
Well, we've got a website. They can just type in Lukin Resources, and there's a link to our prospectus. There's a link to the presentation. There's a link to a flyer, so that they're welcome to look at it. And I'm sure, hopefully, they'll look at your interview and
and say he's got excited. Jaco, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you today. I think it's fascinating what you're putting together. Well done, congratulations, and we look forward to the day you list on the ASX. All the best.
Thank you very much, Kerry.